Right, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to do a month budget with me. I have my notes over here, and I'm really excited. I'm starting a new planner for this. Since this is a 12-month undated dashboard layout planner. Got it from Hobby Lobby. It did not cost that price. So recently I've been using the Happy Planner to help with budgeting because I didn't really want to spend money on a custom. I didn't want to spend money on a custom planner or a fancy budgeting planner like I was using in the past. I've used several popular budgeting planners, and I can do a review on those a little bit later if necessary, but I've really been enjoying using this. And I have, like I said, I have my notes over here, so I'm just gonna go forward with that. So this is a little bit different than the one that I have been using, and it just has some things that are a little bit different, which is fine. I actually don't mind playing around with this. So we're gonna budget for the month of March, which is fantastic. So I'll just actually let me just peruse this since I can just notice that it's different. So that layout was different, but this layout is the same. So if you're unfamiliar with the dashboard layout, this is pretty much the same as other things. All right, so first we'll start with dating our pages. So let's work on that. All right, so like I said, this is March. March starts on Friday, not February. March does not start on February. So let me go ahead and date these pages really quickly. I do not have very beautiful handwriting per se, but we're gonna make do. Actually, let me just do this. Over here. 13, 14. All right, so I think I'm gonna do a all right, so I've dated my pages here. I'm just gonna put 31 right there. So again, now as far as my bills, I just want to quickly put those on here. All right, so here is the monthly spread for March and what I have going on. I have a couple of notes on here for myself and just taking a note of when paydays will be and different bills and things like that. And this is what I know of pretty much for right now. There may be one or two things that are missing, but for the most part, just looking at my notes here, there may be something here as well. These are just subscriptions that I added. So now we're going to get into sort of like the nitty-gritty of the, oh wait, is there something else? Anyhow, now we're going to get over to the part that is really beneficial to me as I am planning out the month. And I usually do this about a month or two in advance if I can, as far as the next step that we're about to take. For how I like to use the month's dashboard really quickly here. So the way I like to use the dashboard is fairly simple. So for priorities, I like to write down any bills that may be like one-offs, or any bills like a contract renewal or annual membership, anything that is kind of like out of the ordinary or larger than expected. I like to make note of that here in the priority section. In the important section, I like to make note of any sort of events or occasions or items that are specific to this month that I need to make note of and put money aside for those things. So I just like to keep track of what those line items may be and just keep track of them here in the priorities. I'm sorry, in the important section. Now, as you can see, they kind of have this as like priorities, goals, important dates. But the way I see it is, I see it more so as like priorities, important, and then here, it is good to just keep track of dates. And if you want to, like I said, this dashboard is a little bit different than the one that I usually use. The one that I typically use looks like this. Okay. And again, I would put the bills here, and then the occasions, line items, events here. And then I would also just make note of anything here. Typically I would put sinking funds, but again, I don't really utilize sinking funds as such in the typical way. So I'm looking for how I want to use this, whether it's like, again, some kind of like summary of how the month went, or just some kind of encouragement, but I'll keep you posted on how I decide to use that. But since this is a little bit different, I'm still going to use it the way that I normally use it, which is to say priorities. So for the month of March, so let's go move on to this section here. So dates, again, I may start to separate out events and occasions that have a date here, date specific things that I need to keep money for here that are not bills, and I'll keep that here. And then I keep this for those kind of like things I need to get or that are not date specific. So hopefully this will make sense as I go through and fill this out. This is a section that is kind of like my favorite. Now on my old dashboard, that would have been the note section, but since this layout is different, I'm going to treat it differently. And one of the things I'm going to do with here is I'm going to go ahead and write out here what my beyond the pay period things are that I want to save up for. This is really important for a lot of reasons, because I want to stop living paycheck to paycheck, right? I want to really train my mind to look beyond the paycheck and really prepare for beyond the pay period. And one of the best ways I know how to do that is to start looking at those things that are anticipated in the future now. And the more I do this, the further I can be able to prepare for, which is exciting to me. So let's go ahead and start. I do have a contract renewal fee that is due on the 15th. So I want to make note of that here. So on the 3rd, I have my personal loan. So I'll just make note of that there. On the, well, let's just kind of go through and I'll just put it where it goes. So these are pretty typical. These are all new for this month. I've had these things in the past, but I just found that I needed them again. So subscriptions are just really interesting for me right now. So the book fair, that is not a bill, but it is an important date because my kids are looking forward to that. So I'm just gonna go down here and put 7. I'm just gonna put book fair, right? Go back over here. And again, the idea is to do this way before the month starts and constantly be putting in dates in your calendar, in your financial planners and your planners, so that you can know already like what you need to start saving for and things like that. And the idea is just keep getting ahead and ahead and ahead and not have to, you know, wait for that pay period, if that makes sense. So, and again, like when I do this ahead of time, I'm not necessarily filling out this section beyond the pay period. I'm more so focusing on these things, and as I get closer to that month, then I'll be able to see like how far ahead I can go. Because the idea again is to train yourself to go even further than the paycheck. All right, so like I said, the 7th, there's a book fair. On the 8th, there's a school fundraiser, and this doesn't really cost money per se, it costs labor. But if we don't get things done in time, we will need to pay somebody. So I am not going to include that right now on my dates, just because I don't anticipate paying money for that. I anticipate doing work for that. So we'll leave that as such. Here we have a typical bill. This is kind of like a one-off, so I'm just going to put that here. This is not necessarily when it's due, but I do want to make note of that. Okay, so charity water is pretty basic. The lunch account is pretty basic. It is kind of a larger amount because I do like to put enough in there for the next 30 days. So I'm just going to make note of that. And if you can hear my kids, they are very loud upstairs, so please excuse them. Okay, so like I said, we have this contract fee, so we're back at the contract fee, and I'm gonna make a note of that on the 15th. So next up, we have this day trip that was kind of required for one of my kids for something that they were a part of, so I need to make note of that. I don't anticipate spending too much money on it because it is it's not too far from where we are, but it is something that we will need to make sure we put some money aside for food and gas and, you know, just little things that may pop up. So I just want to make a note of that there. So this is a day off. I like to make note of days off just because I know that it's not a complete day off for me, but it is a day off for my children. So I just want to make note of that so that I can make sure I set aside some money for them to have like a little outing. So these are pretty simple bills. This is not something in stone, and honestly I just need to erase this because I spent the money on that for something else, and I really have like so much to do. But what I think, and I just thought of another occasion that I have coming up. So I probably should just wipe this out now, but I'm really holding out that I could take some time to go on this trip. But it's really not something I want to prioritize by any means. And that, so I'm just gonna go ahead and write it out. Just gonna make a decision. And I wanted to go to this neighboring city, and I've been wanting to go for quite some time, but I think I'm just gonna save that trip for a little bit later in the year, or just go on a whim if I'm able to. But I'm just gonna go ahead and wipe that out so I can just stop thinking about that. Now, here is actually an extended break for the kids. And again, I just need to make sure that I make note of that. The 29th, I'm just gonna put spring break 1. I think that's pretty much it, except for 2 more expenses that are date specific. And one of them is Prime membership. So this was actually due on the 19th, but I paused it to be able to pay towards it a little bit later. I may actually just keep this on the 19th. No, I'm gonna do it later. So anyway, I'm gonna put the Prime membership here. I don't recall exactly which date it was, but I will fix that a little bit later. But like I said, I did decide to pause it after the date. And I think it's the 15th is when it's due, just because I have so much going on this month, as you can see, that I really need to make sure that I had money that could flow. And then lastly, I do plan on having an overnight trip on the 30th. So I do want to make sure I save some money for that. This is not typical to have so many outings or trips in 1 month for us, but this is a very, very busy month for us. And I just want to make note of that. So now we're going to get into some of the things that are not date specific per se. They are time sensitive, but they don't have like a specific date that it has to be done. the first thing is, let's see. Oh wait, I do have one thing on here I forgot to put. I'm gonna put niece's B-Day. I can't believe I forgot that because I put it on the calendar. Just make sure I put it on the calendar. So, just gonna put niece there so I can know that. And there are a couple of holidays in this month as well that I would love to do, but we'll see. We will see. Another thing is, I really need to get some clothes. I need to get some more clothes, and I have some coupons for Lane Bryant. And I just want to make sure that I use them. So I'm just going to put this on here as well to make sure that I use them. And I put that on what day? The 17th. I don't know how much I'll actually be able to put towards that, but I do want to use those coupons because I really need some work clothes. Okay. So, anything else I can think of? Note of softball and baseball, so I can make note that these are going to be expenses for us. And I also really wanted to give some money to my cousin. She recently had something happen, and I offered, and I want to make sure I get that to her. And it's not another thing that is not date specific, but is also really important, is getting tires for one of my vehicles. Really needs tires. It's like a major. Okay, so I think these are pretty much all the things that I want to make note of on here. I'm just gonna put spring wardrobe. And I know that they mentioned some toys. There's like I might just put toys here because I do like to get them toys when they have their breaks so they can have something new to look forward to. So I'm just gonna put toys as well. So that's everything so far. Now, looking at beyond this month, so this can also be used for bossing up. And so I may fill this out with some business plans. Really need to get my business sense up and do that. So I also failed to mention that I would also like to give some teachers gifts, and I'm just gonna put them here. I have some gifts I want to give out, and I just want to make note of that here. So as you can see, when you look at your entire month and there are different events, occasions, different things that are going on that you want to make sure you have money for, it's just good to know up front when you're budgeting and look at your pay period to decide how you want to proceed. Here are the monthly spreads, the month, and the month dashboard. I hope you enjoyed this video. My next video will be the budget for the week, so stay tuned.